Hello, hello, and welcome back to Minotaur Hotel. We're here in a dark cave with a beaten up boy. He's doing alright, guys, he's doing alright. He lays there in the dark, coiled and curled up within the padded embrace of his sleeping bag. He takes a shallow breath and turns onto his side when he feels his chest and throat clench to choke in the back of him. The back out of him. Okay. Surrounded by his meager attempts at comfort within his hollow, the snake feels the first scab of childish homesickness since his mandate began. He missed his parents' home, small but cozy, and the familiarity of the village. He missed his mama and his bumpus. He misses the scent of pan-fried cheese and sweet honey upon his tongue. Argos flinches away from those thoughts. No distractions, no balking at the last. Instead, he turns his mind to studying the advice given to him by that master of stagecraft he looked up to all his life. Know who you are, Argus Ponotis, a foreman of the labyrinth and watcher of the bowl. Know where you come from, the depths of the realm, crafted by the gods like any other of its residents, though granted with an imitation of humanity's cunning. Know your purpose, to guide the master into fulfilling his role. Give yourself up completely to that fiction, mind and body, as is demanded by the actor's art. Fill the truthfulness of Argos's every word and deed. Do not hesitate. Never for an instant sit there doing nothing. Compare what you've decided to the plot of the play. Live every moment to it. Live every moment of it in your imagination. And the way you must act will make itself apparent. Put on the costume, speak the lines, perform the role, and let the role become truth. Far above the stage, the stars gaze down at the mortals below this theater goers enjoying the drama of a small, petty, short, and insignificant lives. Within the bounds of the hotel, Master Josh broods in his chambers. Asterion wanders the darkened halls, the stab of memories raking him insane. Luke and Kota set aside their differences and put machinations of their own into motion. And as for my sister and I, we watch. Humble observers we are, and shall remain, until whatever end may come. Okay. The 1,000 eyes restrict. Okay. The door swings open, and darkness pours out. The stench strikes first. It's the stagnant smell of panic sweat that has dried and dusty, unkempt fur. Your lips curl as you breathe out hard through your nose to keep it from clenching like bitter oil. The light pours into the room, shines on the floor in front of the doorway. Bits of wood and strips of torn fabric are strewn about, and the walls are scarred all over with deep gouges that still bleed drywall dust. Your sight finally adapts to the dark. At the far wall, next to the broken remnants of the bed, you notice the faintest glimmer. The bowl is slouched onto the floor, motionless, as if he died where he stood after tearing his room apart in yet another temper tantrum. His left eye, however, has flickered open. It peers at you from under his lower brow with the sullen gaze of a convict locked behind the bars of a cell, watching, waiting. Get up, Asterion. We're going out to the valley today. A full-body shudder rakes the Minotaur's hunched form, and a faint moo slips from between his slack lips. But like a puppet being pulled up by its strings, he gets to his feet. Come on. The hotel's keeper obeys your order. You lead him out of the windowless, stale-air chamber into the main room of your quarters. Even as his hooves scramble against the floor, trying to keep him in place while kicking at the scattered carvings and crushing remains of his lyre. Even as his breath hitches in his heaving chest, as though he forgot how to breathe with each new moment. Even as his head tosses and the corded muscles of his neck twitch with reluctant anxiety, the Minotaur follows you. You look him up and down. It'll take some work to make the hotel's keeper look presentable. What we got? Okay. We're good. Whatever. Yeah. You're good, Asterion. There we go. You look like a proper keeper now. A pat on his shoulder makes the bull flinch away from you. A sudden anger, hard and black as obsidian, clenches in your gut like a fist. You be nice to him. Even give him a compliment. And that's how he acts? Well, fine then. That fist, your fist, raises upward, your muscles tense and then release like a coiled spring. He cowers away from you, whimpering and whining. His legs give out, sending him down to the floor, and his arms wrap around himself tight enough to bruise as he stares with a blank eyes at the empty air away from you. The blow wasn't much, especially considering how massive he is compared to you. In fact, it hurt you a lot more than it probably hurt him. But from his moaning, you'd think that you had just shattered one of his precious wine bottles over his head. You shake the soreness out of your hand. You'll get a lot worse than that if you don't behave. Do you understand me? His head bobs up and down again and again, and he lets out another quiet moo. Good. Let's go. The bull is still silent and sulky from your scolding, and so humming the tune that closes the wall behind you falls to you. You make your way downstairs, 2 of your footsteps for every one of the Minotaurs. When you reach the ground floor, you poke your head into the reception. It's been far too long since you've made an appearance. After all, it would be best to check in on how your hotel's been running in your absence. You find the space surprisingly lively today. A small group of guests are gathered around Luke and Kota, speaking in hushed tones with the Griffin and Dragon. One of them spots you in Asterion and hisses to the tall woman standing next to him. She is in turn clears her throat, looks to Luke, and jerks her head in your direction. The pair make their way over to you, and judging by their expression and the ones on the guests' faces, they aren't happy to see you. You sigh, draw yourself up, and prepare yourself for yet another dismissal report and a slash of complaints. Well, good fucking morning, boss man. Luke, Kota. Is there something I can do for you? Matter of fact, there is. Me and Kota's been talking with the guests, the ones that aren't jump ship yet, anyway. And we're all in agreement that shit needs to change around here. There's a murmur of agreement from watching the crowd. Oh, really? And just what would that be? You know damn well, you. Kota doesn't speak to admonish the scowling Griffin, but he does reach out to set a hand on Luke's arm. Luke shuffles his wings as Kota steps forward, taking over whatever this is supposed to be. We are tired, Josh. Tired of watching you abuse your position as manager of this hotel. We've been far too accepting of the state of things so far. We were grateful for your hospitality, and when crisis struck, we were more than happy to offer our assistance. But over the past week, you have shown your true colors,
And that black heart of yours is not something I, Luke, or anyone else here can abide any longer.
You have no idea what you're talking about.
For heaven's sake, Josh, look at him!
The dragon gestures towards Asterion, and while his expression eases when he looks to the bull, you can still see the anger boiling inside.
You can't keep sending him out to the valley, and not in the state he's in.
You give Luke a glare, and he stares right back at you, with his arms crossed. Didn't I tell you, and Luke, to mind your own business? Asterion has his duties as keeper, and if he can't perform them, then that's on him.
What you're doing to him goes far beyond the realm of duty, Josh. If you will allow me to speak my mind, I'd go so far as to call this outright abuse.
Yeah. Luke takes over once more, stepping forward to shove a taloned finger into your chest. If you think we're just gonna stand back and watch you do whatever you want with the guy, you got another fucking thing coming. You bat the griffin's hand away. This little good cop, bad cop thing was cute at first, but you have more important things to do with your time. Allow me to remind you, Mr. Walker, that when I gave you your job as lounge manager, you swore an oath to bow to my authority. Yeah, maybe. But if I knew what kind of asshole was in charge of this place, I never would have taken that guy's suggestion to come here. Fine then. If you don't like it here, then quit and fuck off. I can find someone else to run the lounge, someone who knows how to give their boss the respect he deserves. You look over to Kota and the huddled group of guests nearby. And that goes for the rest of you too. If you don't like the way I run my hotel, then the door's right over there. Don't let it hit you on the way out. Now, if you'll excuse me, Asterion and I have things to take care of out in the valley. Like fucking hell. Oh, okay. The griffin shoves past you, going out of his way to slam his shoulder into your own. He grabs Asterion by the wrist and tugs, but the Minotaur stands as still as a statue. Come on, Angus. We're getting out of this hellhole. And you. He turns to glare daggers at you. You can go rot in that goddamn valley by your own goddamn self. Again, the griffin tugs harder this time. He looks up to meet Asterion's eyes, and his expression shifts when he sees the wide-eyed panic on the Minotaur's face. Asterion, come here now. A plaintive bellow leaks from between Asterion's slack lips. He trembles, straining against the bound of his servitude. But as master of the hotel, your word is law. Kota moves between you and your servant, the fury of a typhoon roiling beneath the mask of his own expression. He grabs you by the collar, and the desire to shake sense into you flashes like lightning in his eyes.
Release him! Now!
Okay. You try to push the dragon away, but his solid body remains in place. Another surge of anger, like thick black oil running through your veins, overtakes you. Luke, having given up trying to pull Asterion over towards the other onlooking guests, stalks towards you. His tail lashes behind him. His beak clacks and snaps. His taloned hands ball into shaking fists. We're gonna fuck off, alright, and we're gonna take Asterion with us. Your contempt for the two fools before you rises up into your throat like hot bile, and burbles out in a peal of laughter. You really don't know anything. Asterion is mine. This hotel is mine. I am your lord, and you are the guests I've allowed under my roof. You will treat me with the respect I deserve. Kota tightens his grip on you with a growl. and opens his mouth to retort, but before he can, Asterion grabs his shoulder and pulls him off of you. Even as he bites his lips and keeps his gaze locked onto the tile floor between his hooves, the Minotaur stands like an implacable wall between you and the pair of the interlopers.
Asterion!
You brush yourself off, and then give the griffin and dragon a glare of your own. That's enough out of the both of you. If you really want to leave that bad, then get out. There is a rumble beneath your feet, from deep within the bellows of the hotel. From the bedrock itself, the lights flicker as Luke and Kota cower before your wrath. Get out, both of you. Out! When the world blinks back into existence, they're gone. Fearful murmurs draw your attention back to the onlooking group of guests. Their eyes bore into you, staring at you, judging you. That goes for the rest of you, too. Out. Get out! All of you, get out! Shards of obsidian wash over you, engulfing the world in icky, roiling darkness. And when you come back to yourself, you are alone with the Minotaur. The hotel is as silent and desolate as it was when you first arrived. You look at the bull, who has fallen to his knees and buried his face into his hands. Quiet, a muttered lamentation and shallow breaths leak out from between his clutched fingers. Once more, he has had to stand by and watch his guests be kicked out. Forget about them. Come on, we've wasted enough time as it is. You turn on your heels and make your way back to the stairwell. You pause on the top step, waiting impatiently for the sound of clopping hooves behind you, and then make your descent back to the valley. The entire way down, you hear the bull complaining to himself. You ignore it for the moment and just focus on putting one foot in front of the other. Down, feeling the weight of the empty building above you, feeling the weight of your mantle as master settling upon your shoulders. Finally, you arrive at the entrance out into the valley. The bull snorts and tosses his head, but you pull him out into the sunlight by the reins of your command. Argos has coiled himself up at the base of the bright-eyed Athena statue, his shoulders leaning on her marble hen leg. When? Okay. At your approach, he draws himself back up, shaking and uncertain in his movement. The mere sight of the foreman, even when wretched looking as he is enough to make Asterion tremble and low in terror. A sickly smile stretches the snake's parched lips. And there he is. How long has it been since we've played together, little heifer? Sorry to keep you waiting. There were a few issues I had to deal with up in the hotel. You grimace, but spare no more than a moment's thought for your former guests. In any case, we're finally ready. Lead on, and let's get this unpleasantness over with. Of course, master. He bows with a sweep of his arm, and then begins to slither down the path into the valley proper. You follow behind, leading Asterion, and begin your trek to the distant hillside. It's not so different from the previous expedition. The sun high above beats relentlessly down upon the crown of your head. The dust stirs beneath your feet, and then settles behind you. The sounds of the labyrinth's dread residents reach your ears, but stay well away as you venture through the realm. Not so far, not so for Asterion, of course. Stones seem to rise from the earth of their own accord to trip him up. Swarms of insects dart about his flickering ears and into his blinking eyes. Brushing Brush and branches cling to his legs and shoulders, leaving bleeding gashes wherever their claws sink into his flesh. The Minotaur, however, makes no complaints. He trudges behind you, senseless and silent. So far from sense, he cannot gauge present from past, but pins his soul to every word of fear. A lone wounded bull, he limps, lost and alone, dodging living echoes from the magic earth that sting and gad at him around him. Okay, I'll end the part here, everyone, so I'll see you around.